All right. So I want to thank you so much for letting me do this interview. Can you just state your full name for the interview?
Nathan Roark.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Um,
Well, one of the things that really affects the velocity of a blowgun dart is how smooth the interior of your blowgun shaft is.
mhm,
So when you're dealing with PVC or really polished aluminum, you have a very smooth inside,
mhm,
and so that reduces the friction on the dart, which increases the speed on the dart, which does make a pretty big difference. When you're dealing with cane and hollowing out and smoothing out cane, um, you can achieve a pretty smooth inside for sure, but it requires lots of sanding, lots and lots and lots and lots of sanding of varying degrees of sandpaper. But I would say off the bat, like the straightness and the smoothness
mhm.
of the actual blowgun makes the biggest difference between modern synthetic materials
Mhm.
um, and natural cane.
Okay.
I really like
Mhm,
Thistle because, again, of its kind of traditional aspect of the southern
mhm,
mountains and southeastern woodlands. Um, I have made them with cotton. I've made them with squirrel fur. I've made them with like tail hair of the squirrel. I've made it with ripped up um, pieces of bandana, like
mhm.
like frayed up.
Awesome.
I've made it with feathers, little downy feathers. So I've played around with lots of different things. Um, I feel like tying thistle on is a real art, and I'm by no means an artist at it. I mean, I have friends that are so much better than I am, and to watch them do it, when they're holding the string in their mouth and they have the thistle on their thumbs, and they're able just to wrap it up and come out with a beautifully tied thistle dart, it's just amazing. Sure. I mean, I have many times,
Mhm,
in kind of kids classes and working more on a situation where the person making the blowgun, it might be their first time, or they're not really looking for extreme precision.
mhm.
Um, the advantage of letting your cane season is that it straightens better
Okay.
because you're
Mhm,
going to straighten your cane. You're going to use heat to straighten the cane because a blowgun that's not straight is not going to shoot straight.
mhm.
Um, and it's so much easier done when the cane's a bit seasoned. Um, and then also I feel like just when cane dries, if you don't manage how it dries, it can check or crack as it dries,
Mhm.
and that can ruin your blowgun. So it's better to kind of be in charge of how it's seasoning, get it a good slow seasoning, and then that's going to help um, make sure that there's no checks or cracks that develop in your blowgun later. So
Mhm.
to answer your question, um, traditionally,
Mhm.
and you probably have read this, it was either sometimes the cane was split,
Mhm.
all the sections hollowed out, ground out, sanded out really nicely, and then the cane was glued and bound back together.
Mhm.
So that's one way you can make sure, with limited resources and limited tools, that things get really clean. Binding cane back together, making it airtight, is
Not so
for real,
easy.
right? I mean, you're using good pine pitch glue
Mhm.
and good fiber usage to really lock it all down. Rod that I heat up in a fire
Okay.
and I burn through.
Mhm.
And then I follow behind that with um, a long piece of threaded rod, which looks like a giant screw. And I use
Mhm.
the rough edges of that just to just grind back and
Okay.
forth.
Mhm.
Both those things can easily, and it could be the same thing. I mean, you can use the threaded rod to heat up and burn through, and then use it to grind.
Mhm.
You can buy it at Lowe's Hardware for $1, or a couple bucks. So if you want to focus on like darts, then I'd go with a synthetic blowgun and
Mhm.
put a lot of time in darts.
Okay.
You know, or if you're looking for effectiveness versus traditional, then by all means, I would say for your first time, go synthetic.
Mhm.
Because just traditional, I mean, there's a big process going on there that
Yeah.
requires quite a bit of learning and growing with. Whereas you can go to the hardware store and buy, a half-inch piece of PVC pipe that's 6 feet long,
Mhm.
and your blowgun's done.
Yeah.
And then you can walk around the hardware store and be like, I bet that'd make a good dart. I bet that might make a good dart. And you can like walk out with several different things that could make some really good darts.
Mhm.
And then you just start playing with fletching material and see what you can come up with as it flows through.
All right. Thank you so much for
Absolutely.
doing this interview with me today.
Yeah, hopefully it's helpful.